I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
Hey everybody, welcome to a very special edition of Tales from Godric's Hollow. This is round 6 of our Butterbeer Banter spin-off podcast spectacular. This is a special extra show that we do for you guys out there, the listening audience, the community. It gives us a chance to talk about all different things Harry Potter that isn't necessarily related to the assigned reading that we do each week. I am the muggle of the show. I am one of your co-hosts. I am Josh Brown. I am joined by the man who started this journey 20 years ago, and it finally took him that long to get me on board this crazy train. Professor Matt Sonnenberg. Hi, Matt.
Hi, Josh.
20 years, Matt.
20 years.
It's been 20 years since the release of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
Indeed. And I feel worse about it if I actually knew you 20 years ago. But
that would be... I probably would have just gave in just by the sheer sake of like wanting you to stop asking me to read Harry Potter. 20 years.
Yeah.
No, 20 years. That's a long time for a series like this.
Yeah, especially considering that the last book, I want to say, shoot, I should have looked this up ahead of time. But this is how we run things here.
Sure. If you guys were expecting a professional show this time around where the butterbeer is flowing, you guys came to the wrong show.
So the last book, The Deathly Hallows, was released in 2007.
Okay. 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's been 10 years, and this community, this series, or the community around this series is as strong as ever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been refueled a little bit by Cursed Child and Fantastic Beasts and that sort of thing.
Yep.
But it never really died out.
No.
It may have died down a little bit, but there was always a strong community there if you wanted it.
Absolutely. Well, it didn't. I mean, we had the Lego games come out. Then Harry Potter was brought into Lego Dimensions, and like the Wizarding World of Harry Potter opened up at Universal Studios. That was after all the books were released. So
yep, that's very true. Yeah, the theme parks played a huge part in that too. I mean, the fact that you could create an entire theme park land section from a series that at that point was at least 7 years old.
Yeah.
Like it speaks volumes.
Right. I mean, Mario's been around over 30 years, and they're just now starting to
realize that they could have a park.
Yeah. So what does that say about Harry Potter,
Yeah.
Like, it's a crazy franchise, and something I was admittedly very oblivious to most of my life. I was familiar with the name, and very, very, very basic premise. But past that, it was not in my wheelhouse one bit, so for me to celebrate 20 years kind of feels weird, but then again, like I look back and it's like, well, because of these 20 years that have passed since that first book, because, like you're saying, the community is still there and still as strong as ever, if not even stronger.
Yep.
That's the reason we're able to do this show.
Exactly.
If nobody cared about Harry Potter anymore, you wouldn't have cared about getting me to read about it.
Yeah, it would have been a very different story.
I mean, it's not like we're doing a podcast on Catcher than the Rye or something like that.
No, not at all.
Lord of the Flies podcast.
I mean, I've said it a few times before that, I mean, one of the reasons that I always kind of bring up as to why I realized you need to know about Harry Potter, or why I felt at least you need to know about Harry Potter, is that people were making Harry Potter references and you weren't getting it.
No.
But those Harry Potter references, once again, show just how strong this community is and how strong the series was and how much of an influence it had on people's lives, that they go back to this series and use it as a reference in the first place.
Right. No.
You don't see that with every series.
No, definitely not. So it's a big to-do. 20th anniversary just happened this past Monday. We recorded episode 52 of the normal show, the regular podcast. We read chapters 3 through 5 of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Man, I already have a hard time remembering book names. But we weren't able to do a lot of fanfare with that episode because, we have a weekly schedule that we want to stick to, while we deviate from topic a little bit here and there, just a tad, Matt. I mean, there's really no fluff in those episodes. So
right,
we didn't have much time the other night to really talk about what 20 years of Harry Potter means to not only you, but everybody else out there in the community.
Yeah.
To me, I can't speak on it. It means, for me, this is year 1 of Harry Potter. So I can tell you what year 1 means to me, but I can't tell you what year 20 means to me. But you certainly can, and we called upon the community out there to tell us what it means to them as well, because we interact with the listeners, with the audience out there as much as we possibly can. But like I said, it's usually about that week's reading or some side topic here or there. But this was going to give us a chance to really connect with them in a way that we haven't yet. 52 episodes in, and we get emails every week about, I love Harry Potter, I love this part of the book, I love this part of the movie, blah, 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 blah. But we never, sit down with these people, Matt, and say, why do you love Harry Potter? Tell me why you care about this so much. And this is our chance. This is us giving back to the 20th year celebration of Harry Potter. This very special episode of Butterbeer Banter is dedicated to what Harry Potter means to the people that love Harry Potter. We challenge everybody to write in, give us some emails. With the release schedule, it was dicey whether or not people were going to sit through a 3.5 hour podcast to get to the end, because we were smart enough to put that call for help out at the end of a show.
5 minutes before the end of the show.
We didn't think that one through, Matt. We definitely
we didn't.
Messed up a little bit. However, the community responded tenfold. You guys came through in the clutch. We gave you a very small window to get your emails in, and from what Matt tells me, there's a whole gaggle of emails to go through.
Oh yeah.
So without further ado, I think we just need to get to the emails and see what you guys out there say about Harry Potter and the impact it's had on your lives.
Right. Before we go too much further, I just want to take a minute to thank all of our Patreon members who, once again, are getting to hear this episode a little bit earlier than everybody else.
Here.
But if you would like to join them, once again, you can head over to patreon.com/Tales from Godric's Hollow. And everyone, even from the lowest $1 tier, gets the early access to these episodes. So if you want to help us out, support us in your own small way, that's one way you can do so.
Definitely.
But like I said, it's time to get to the emails, because that's what this is all about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nobody wants to hear our opinions, Matt.
No.
Well, I'm curious about yours, but we'll save that for the end of the show.
Okay. First email tonight comes from Rihanna.
Hi, Rihanna.
Says, I started reading Harry Potter the summer after 6th grade. Books 1 to 5 were out, and book 6 came out a little after I finished reading book 5, which I did in about a month. At that time, Harry Potter filled a summer where I didn't have many friends. Now, at 24, I have a pretty good group of friends, and it's just a book series I've come to love through the complexity of JK's writing, through the mix of the characters, the humor, the heartbreak, the infuriating scenes, the themes of love versus evil. It's just a whole universe that gives you an imagination. Not to mention, when you meet other people that love Harry Potter, it's like an instant bond. There's just nothing like it, and it's the best.
That's true.
Yeah, that's one thing. I mean, we'll see throughout these emails, and I'm sure even more of you have experienced it. Harry Potter is that there is that instant connection.
Yeah.
Like if you find two people who are fans of Harry Potter, you can go on talking for days.
Right.
Even though you've never met them, you might not know anything else about them, but the fact that you both like Harry Potter, you're set to go.
And even like if the other person like isn't a super fan, but like they've read a book or two or seen the movies or whatever, like there's still that commonality to where it's like, okay, we're allies.
They understand the world.
Yeah.
They understand JK's writing, and like I said, even a book or two is enough.
Yeah. And then people meet idiots like me, where it's like, how do you not know anything about, like, nothing about it? So you know nothing about Harry Potter? And I'm like, well, I know that there's a half giant. And you're like, well, hold on. How do you know about a half giant? I don't know. I just do. You know? And then next thing you know, you're doing a podcast about it, and here we are.
Here we are.
So Brianna started after all the first 5 books were out.
Yeah, she was actually a lot later than, well, I was a little surprised how many emails we got tonight of people who did get a late start to the series. Mm-hmm. But yeah, after book 5 is actually one of the latest, I believe.
That was my next question, was like, in your experience, what's the ratio of like people that started from the beginning or people that like picked up like after like once it was like halfway out, or somewhere in there?
So yeah, there are very few I know personally, at least, or have talked to, that were there at the very beginning. Mm-hmm. The vast majority, I think, probably got in around 3 or 4.
Okay.
And that's kind of when things started to take off. It was kind of a whirlwind beginning, kind of like we started this podcast, because the first 4 books were a book a year.
Right.
And I mean, if you're on top of it, that might not even seem like enough, Mm-hmm. Because you can read the book in a week or less. So it's like, yeah, I'm done. I want the next one, and you're waiting a whole nother year. But in the grand scheme of things, a book a year is quite prolific.
Did people usually like pick up, like, if they started like book 3 or 4, like, did they read that book and then say, oh, I really like this series, and then go back from the beginning and start from the beginning?
No. I believe most people, once they got interested enough in this Harry Potter character, or
gotcha. I've heard of this series, let me check it out for myself.
Yeah, maybe they saw one of the newer books, but pretty much everybody went back to the beginning and started from there.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
The best part about it is, like, everybody, and I'm sure we're going to see this through, like, all the emails here tonight, like, everybody has their own story of, like, how Absolutely. They started and when they started.
There's definitely going to be some good stories in here.
Okay. Awesome. Let's do it.
All right. Our next email comes from Cindy.
Hi, Cindy.
Says, my 2 girls introduced the series to me when they first came out. Well, there you go. As soon as I picked up the first book, I was a big fan and completely enjoyed the whole world of Harry Potter. I never really understood why, but my husband suggested that since I had a difficult childhood, I would prefer to live in a make-believe world filled with fantasy. Harry Potter has provided me with hours and hours of magical fun. The books make you almost believe that magic is real and that good always wins. Well, almost always. I love puzzles and mysteries, and Harry Potter is filled with both. The books are well written and thought out so that everything seems to eventually come together. J.K. writes in such a way that even when she introduces a new place, creature, or spell, you can visualize it so that it seems real. Reading the books or watching the movies brings me to a world of so many possibilities. Don't we all want to be magical?
I think we do.
And she has a little side note here that I want to read. It's not directly related to Harry Potter,
okay,
but she included it, so I want to put it out here too.
Sure.
So as a side note, my grandfather inherited a family gravesite in the 1930s from a local judge who was leaving the area. The only thing he had to promise was that he would look after the only grave that was already located in the family plot, which was for the judge's young wife who died at the age of 20 in the late 1800s. We have always kept the promise, and I wondered if there's any online information about her. When I searched her name, Gertrude Meads, the only thing that finally came up was that she was a student at Hogwarts and a Slytherin.
What? Get out of here. I just got chills, Matt. That's creepy. What? I have so many questions. How do you inherit a gravesite? Why is there only one person buried there?
That's how they worked back in the day.
That's not a cemetery. That's a crime scene, Matt.
But yeah, if you search for Gertrude Meads, the first result you get, Gertrude Meads was a Slytherin student at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry.
Now, is this a character in like we're going to meet?
So the wiki page on her says she's seen walking around the school during the 93-94 school year.
What do you mean seen? It's a book. Is she ever mentioned by name in the books? Or the movies?
So it seems the only... Interesting.
How do you just retcon a new character in? Like, oh yeah, there's this lady.
The only citation for her appearance is in the Prisoner of Azkaban video game for PS2.
What in the world?
So I'm not entirely sure on that one. Like, the name never jumped out at me. It's odd that it doesn't have a citation for the book, because usually these pages are pretty good about that. So I'm really not sure on that one, but I do appreciate that there is a connection.
Okay, so the non-Harry Potter Gertrude Meads in this email, what year did she die? According to the email?
It was in the late 1800s.
Like 1888 by chance? Because I
I
feel like I just found her page on Ancestry.com, and I'm a little sketched out about this, Matt.
I didn't have an exact year.
What in the world? This is like some unsolved mysteries type of stuff here.
Yeah.
Wow. Huh. Okay. That's super creepy in so many different ways.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Harry Potter references everywhere in the world.
Yep.
Do you think JK? No, it's not even a JK character, is it? Like,
I wouldn't put it past her. I don't care how it works. I wouldn't put it past her.
Man, some intern was like working for weeks on end to come up with this name, and it was like, we know this one grave site. There's only one person
grave there. No one knows about it.
Definitely Slytherin material. What in the world? Okay, we need to go on to the next one. I'm going to sit here all night and dwell on Gertrude Meads.
Well, thank you, Cindy, for giving us that little tidbit.
Absolutely.
Next email is from Matt.
Hi, Matt.
Matt Eggers, the Slytherin.
Mm-hmm.
We more commonly interact with his wife, I believe, Amanda.
The non-Slytherin.
Yes.
The good one of the couple.
He says, Dear Matt and the Muggle, hi again, sorry for not writing anymore. This book series started my obsession for reading. The way that J.K. created the world for you to dive into, and how all the characters, even the background characters, have stories of where they've been and how they think. It's all so enveloping that I just couldn't not fall into the world and allow me to jump into the books. After I finished the first 5 books, before the 6th book came out, I read through my entire high school library in my sophomore year. When Pottermore came out, I took the quiz and I was dubbed a Gryffindor. There is no greater thing for me but to read the books in the series. Then I got married. I still love this series and reread them almost yearly. Pottermore remade themselves and took the quiz again, and I am now a Slytherin. The Slytherin that I'm proud to be.
Wasn't happy with the Gryffindor, huh?
I guess not. My wife Amanda is the Hufflepuff. Hasn't even read the last 3 books in the series, and I'm glad that this is finally pushing her to finish a series that I love.
Look,
thank you guys.
Us Hufflepuffs are busy, Matt.
Thank you guys for helping me finally put the rest of the books on the top of my wife's reading list. I'll be sending in regular emails, hopefully, and sharing some of my favorite Harry Potter theories that I have ran into, spoiler-free, of course, so that Josh can see what we were thinking back then when we were reading for the first time.
Cool. I like that. Also, could you blame a Hufflepuff for not wanting to continue reading after book 4? If it wasn't for this podcast, I would have been like, I'm done. That's it. Story's over.
All the Hufflepuffs. Yeah.
The rise and fall of Hufflepuff. All in one book, Matt. I mean, if I was a Ravenclaw, I wouldn't have even started at all.
Hey. We just gave you another Hufflepuff this past week, right?
Yeah. Apparently.
Yeah.
I mean, she's not introduced as a Hufflepuff.
Your favorite. I know, but she's there.
Darn right she is. I'm back in.
All right. Next email from Emily.
Hi, Emily.
I think this might be a new writer.
Yes.
Reader, listener. There you go.
New person.
She says, Hey, Josh and Matt. I was in college when I first heard about the Harry Potter series. So I wasn't really interested in a kids series. Mm-hmm. What got me to read was viewing the movie trailer for the first book. It looked like something special. Plus, had John Williams music. Oh, so good. Yeah.
She's going after your heart with that one, Matt.
Yep. I'm a person who usually likes books better than the movies, so I decided to pick up the first book and read it before I saw the movie. I enjoyed it, so I read the second, and was still enjoying it, but wasn't blown away by it. Then I read the third book. It was the first time I remember thinking, this is more than a typical kids series, and this lady can really write. I was hooked. My favorite part of the series is how the novels really grow with Harry. I don't think I've ever read a series that does this to such perfection. I am now a high school English teacher, and I still have conversations about this series with my students. I am just happy that this is a series that continues to be loved and read. There are fad series that definitely go in and out, like Twilight and the Hunger Games, but Harry Potter is one I see constantly in my classes, which makes me so happy. Thanks for the podcast.
Definitely feels timeless.
Yeah.
You know,
I think one of the things that always stands out to me when I'm reading through this is that there is, for the most part, a lack of technology or anything that's really going to date the story.
I was just thinking, like, without, with the exception of like a few references at the Dursleys' house, like
It mentioned the computer or something like that.
the video games, like,
Yep.
you remove those, and suddenly, like, in 100 years, the story is still as relevant as ever.
Yeah, I mean, we have trains and cars, but those aren't things that, in any way, shape, or form, really date things.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've said it many times. If it wasn't for those like brief mentions of like this is the modern world, like it could be the 1920s or 30s for all I know.
Sure.
I have a hard time remembering that these books take place in the modern world. So, yeah. What kind of discussions does Emily have in her English class about Harry Potter? I'd be curious about that.
That's true. That is a good question. And what I like to see, I mean, I know she's not the only teacher that we have listening to this podcast. We've interacted with a few others already too. Yeah. I don't know if they're all English teachers necessarily, but
the world's #1 teacher podcast, Matt.
There you go.
Or podcast for teachers.
But yeah, I like to see that I don't know if it's just that crowd, like teachers tend to like Harry Potter,
sure,
or how that works,
right?
But whatever the case may be, I like it.
Yeah. I don't know if I ever told you this story or not. But when I moved up here to Vancouver, I moved from Southern California. My aunt had come down to pick me up and was moving me back up to live with her. I was 16, and she and my cousins were listening to the audiobooks of Harry Potter in the car because it was like a 14-hour trip, So they were listening to those, and I had never. That was like my first time ever hearing about Harry Potter in any way, shape, or form, and I was like, "This is kid stuff. This is stupid. I'm going to put my headphones on. I'm going to listen to my own music and call it good." So I absorbed none of that whatsoever. But I remember them trying so hard to get me into it. Nope, not going to do it. I don't even care. But my aunt, she was totally a teacher. Like, that was, like, she was a teacher, and she loved Harry Potter. And so I think whenever, I meet teachers that are big fans of Harry Potter, like, I am not surprised whatsoever, because in my head, like, that's an immediate connection to make.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Let's see. Next email from Katie.
Hi, Katie.
Says, hi, guys. I was in the 6th grade, I think, when I heard of Harry Potter for the first time. There are about 6 of us in my advanced English class, and our teacher read a review of the first book to us. One of my classmates, Lydia, made a point of correcting a few mistakes the reviewer had made. I was a bit intimidated by Lydia. Sure. She was witty and sarcastic with a dry sense of humor, and I was a very shy kid. But I was intrigued enough to ask her what she liked about Harry Potter. You'll have to read them for yourself, she said. I was a bit worried that the books wouldn't be available in Braille, but the first three had been out for a couple of years by then, so I was able to get my hands on them that summer. They were delivered in big plastic boxes bound shut with elastic straps. Braille books are very large. Sorcerer's Stone actually has 2 volumes. Huh. Chamber and Prisoner had 3 volumes each.
They're going to ask about 4 volumes.
Yeah. In any case, she says, I totally devoured them. The next year at school, I timidly told Lydia that I had read the first 3 books. She eagerly wanted to know what I thought. And just like that, we had a million things to talk about. And before I knew it, we were friends. We're still friends to this day, by the way. And after all these years, we still have Harry Potter-related things to talk about. So I not only have Harry Potter to thank for hours of entertainment, but for helping me make one of the best friends I've ever had. Cue cheesy music.
Mm-hmm. John Williams music.
I'm sure you could find some good John Williams music to play there. Yes.
Well, we have to thank Lydia for this, because if it wasn't for Lydia, we wouldn't have Katie.
Very true.
So that's who I want to thank in this whole situation. Also, she sounds intimidating. I would totally be intimidated too. I don't blame you.
Well, yeah, especially back in like 6th grade or something like that. I'm right with you, Katie. I was a shy kid back then too. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily have my nose in a book the entire time.
Right.
But I definitely read a lot more back then.
Sure.
And yeah, I was that kid.
Yeah.
But,
what house is Katie? Do you know? Do we know? Has she ever mentioned it before?
I'm gonna go and say she probably has.
Yeah.
Do I remember offhand?
No.
Not right now. But
Katie, let us know. I'm curious. Also,
yeah.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Lydia, probably Ravenclaw. That's a serious guess. Like that's not even like my joke about Ravenclaw not existing type of guess. Like that's like she's witty, she's sarcastic, she's like eager to read books. Like what I know about Ravenclaw, which isn't much, that kind of fits the bill.
Sure.
So, Katie, homework. Next time we hear from you, we want to know your house, and we need confirmation on what Lydia claims to be. I like assigning homework. See, I'm feeling very teacher-like tonight, Matt.
Well, okay. Katie is Hufflepuff.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. That's why we get along so great.
Yep.
Yeah, totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for old emails and a Gmail search feature.
I was hoping that's what you're doing, and not just like sending AOL Instant Messenger or something to Katie. Man, how'd you get a hold of her so quickly? That's quite incredible,
Yeah.
Matt.
No, yeah, no, she's not in our Slack chat, so yeah.
That's right. You do have access to people I don't know.
I do have access to some people, and they would respond that quickly. But
I love it.
All right. Next email is actually from our headmistress, Mel B.
What's up, Mel B?
She pounded this one out quickly for me this afternoon, I think.
Mel B, you're the best.
It's afternoon for us, but
what's that, like Friday for her, or Saturday, or
yeah,
it's 4th of July there already.
She says, there are just so many reasons I love Harry Potter, but here are my top 5.
I like it. Liz, I like that. Man, we should have made everybody do a top 5. That would have been cool.
Next time. Harry Potter was the first series I ever read. It's the reason I enjoy reading, and the series is one of 2 that inspired me to want to write my own books.
Okay, stop, Matt.
Yes.
Are you going 5 to 1 or 1 to 5? Is the order important? Are we going to get to like the top reason why Mel B likes Harry Potter?
I honestly couldn't. Well, I'm going the way they're ordered. It's 1 to 5 the way I'm reading it, but I think 5 is a good one to end on.
Okay.
All right, we'll be okay.
All right. I'm just trying to build drama here, you know.
I understand.
We have a show. We're trying to entertain Matt. You know, there's a lot of wheels moving in this podcast here.
Of course.
Also, Mel B doesn't. You know, she marches to the beat of her own drum. So,
if she wanted me to read him 5 to 1, she would have listed him 5 to 1.
You think? She's also the jokester of the podcast,
and she's also in a different hemisphere. So,
yeah, she's going backwards because how does that work? Do numbers work the same in Australia? I don't even know. Like,
toilets spin the other direction. So,
thanks Simpsons for that. That's where you learned about it too, right, Matt?
It's not true.
But that's where you learned about it, right? Was that the first time you heard that?
Honestly, no.
Oh.
No, because growing up, I was not allowed to watch The Simpsons.
Yeah. Probably better off for it.
Don't worry, I've caught up since.
Okay.
So number 2, the books have created a huge worldwide community. People are drawn together for the mutual love of books.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, Harry Potter has some of my favorite literary characters of all time. Number 4.
She's not even going to list them? Like, where's the sub-list here, Mel?
We'll have to get that next time. Number 4, it's a great story.
Mm-hmm.
And number 5, no matter how bad my day is, no matter how hard life is, I know that Hogwarts is always waiting to welcome me back home.
Aw. That's true. That's
Very true.
Yeah. Like that's like the reoccurring one of many reoccurring themes in the books is like no matter how the book starts, no matter what happens, no matter what drama is going on, like you just know in your heart of hearts, like you were only a page or 2 away from like going back to Hogwarts and everything just feeling right again.
Yep.
Calm and peaceful, even if it's for a moment, like you know that it's coming.
Yeah. And I mean, I was going to say oddly enough, but it's not that odd actually. You'll see that throughout these emails that it is a very, very common feeling.
Yeah.
So thank you, Mel.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. As always.
Next email from Tanya.
Hi, Tanya.
To start, I wanted to say that actually writing out what Harry Potter means to me was much more emotional than I thought it would be. Harry Potter first came out when I was 13. However, I was about 15 when I started reading the books. Some family had moved into town and my cousin had the books and liked them, so I started reading them too, since I spent the majority of the time at their house. High school was a terrible time in my life, and these books offered a way to escape. I was able to put aside the terrible day I had and fall into a magical world that made the bad not seem quite so bad. When the movies came out, I loved them so much as well. I definitely think there's some things they missed, but for the most part, I think they capture the magic of Harry Potter and its essence as much as they could without them being 100 hours long. Every year I reread the books from start to finish, not only to enjoy the story, but to remember that no matter how bad things get, it's only for a season. Each year, I get something different from the rereads. Sometimes it's as simple as staying true to yourself. Other years, it's realizing that family is going to make their own choices, aka Percy. And to not give away spoilers, I'll keep it vague, but this year, it's reminding me that I don't need to sit and be idle with an administration I don't agree with. To end, my daughter is 4.5, and I cannot wait to start reading these books to her. I'm planning on starting when she turns 5 this fall. And I hope that she falls in love with them as much as I do. And if she doesn't, she'll end up being Harry Potter. See the attached meme. Which states, my children must love Harry Potter. If they don't, I'll just throw them in a cupboard and under some stairs, and then they will not have to love Harry Potter. They will be Harry Potter.
You have one of 2 options in this scenario.
Yep. She finishes up with, Matt and Josh, thank you so much for this podcast. I feel so blessed to have stumbled upon this podcast during its first week, nearly a year ago. It has been wonderful to be a part of this community of people who love Harry Potter just as much as I do.
Well, thank you, honestly.
Yeah.
And for your daughter's sake, we are all pulling for her to fall in love with it, because no child should be locked under the stairs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be too much of a stretch to...
Yeah. Maybe she'll be the Percy in the family, you know?
Don't put that on her.
I'm just saying, Matt, you gotta be ready for these type of things.
She is. She has a cupboard under the stairs.
She's more than ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. My aunt, who I just talked about,
yep.
when I moved in with her, like she had like one of those little rooms under the stairs. She kept like the vacuum and everything under there.
Sure.
I thought it was a cool little room, but I had never put any thought into it whatsoever. Like, if I had just like listened to them and like just gotten into Harry Potter at that time, like that room would have been way more cooler for me than it is now.
I can imagine, like, that's where you would go to read the books.
Probably. Yeah.
Yep.
Man, I was a dumb kid.
Life could have been so much better.
Just had to struggle my way through it up until now.
It's all about Harry Potter. All right. Our next email then comes from Marissa.
Hi, Marissa.
Says, hi guys. As a note, this is not just about the first book. It's about the series as a whole, but there are no spoilers. But since it's been so long since I've read the first book for the first time, I had to go with the series as a whole.
Fair enough.
How can I possibly put into words what this book series means to me? I'll give it a shot. My 6th grade, so this is back in 2002, 2003, when she was 11.
Okay.
My 6th grade homeroom/science teacher read the first book to us during our designated reading time. I don't think we ever made it past the troll on Halloween because kids at that age don't know how to be quiet. So I borrowed the book from my friend that had a copy and read it. The series was already up to book 4 by then, so it was gaining a lot of attention. I was told in no uncertain terms that it was evil, and I was not allowed to read it, coming from my strict Christian mother. So, in a fit of rebellion, I got the second book at one of those scholastic book days at school where you could take a home book for free. I hid it from my mom, and after I finished that, I went to my friend for the next book. That's when I got busted. She found it in my backpack.
Uh-oh.
But my dad talked my mom off a ledge and assured her that I knew magic wasn't real and that I wouldn't turn into a witch by reading the books. So that was off my back. That's just my background. Here's what the series means to me. When I first read the series, it was a way to escape the world of middle school. I was bullied mercilessly because I was short, I wore glasses, had braces, was smart, and was in the choir. These books were a way for me to forget about my problems and spend time in a place where I had at least 3 best friends that stood up for what is right. As I got older, the books continued to give me joy, but I also made friends who read the series. It then became a way for me to interact with my friends and make conversation. We would talk about which house we would be in, who we would hang out with, what classes we would take, the normal stuff. We would go to the movies together and leave each other alone on book release day so we wouldn't spoil it if the other person got behind in reading. I'm now 26, and I love the Harry Potter world more and more. After each major emotional blow in my life, breakups, death in the family, etc., I would read the series because it would bring me peace. It was something that I could count on to always be there and to never change. It means belonging. I will always have a place where I belong as long as Harry's world exists. And to us, to the fandom, it will always exist. It will always be real. Always.
Always indeed. Wow. That's powerful.
Definitely.
I like it. Man, I don't even know. Kind of speechless. I don't even know what to say. I got no jokes. I got no nothing, Matt.
Yeah. One thing I did want to address a little bit.
Okay.
Was the her strict Christian mother.
Yes.
That had a problem with it.
Yeah.
I seeing as you avoided Harry Potter a lot, I don't know how much you would have heard about this necessarily, but this was an issue that did come up from time to time, usually with Christian groups, which always surprised me a little bit because I consider myself Christian
Mm-hmm.
and fairly conservative at that. And I never really saw a problem with these books.
Sure.
And so that, I guess that always surprised me a little bit when these news stories came up.
Yeah.
That I know they were been banned at some schools, and
Sure.
it's just people going to these extremes, I guess.
Right.
And I just never fully understood it because it's a book.
Sure.
It's fiction. It's fantasy.
Yeah.
It's not
It's also super family friendly.
exactly. Exactly.
It teaches a lot of core values about, overall being a good person.
Yeah. I guess I've always wondered maybe the parents or teachers that had a problem with it or the schools that banned it. I kind of wonder how much they actually knew about it.
Right.
Did they just know what?
Probably not much.
Yeah, that's my guess. It's they probably heard the term Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry.
Right.
And they know it's a book about witches and wizards, and
Sure.
they instantly get concerned.
Yeah. I mean, at least I remind you, Matt, that the Salem witch trials were a real thing.
Yes.
So, there's definitely a stigma attached to the term witch and wizard and magic and they start talking about resurrection and spirits and afterlife and there's a lot of different themes out there that could be touchy for some if need be, but like you said, when it comes down to it, it's it's a book, it's a fantasy, it's just good writing that isn't trying to steer kids in the wrong direction. At the worst, you're going to influence them to be jokesters like Mel B.
Yeah.
So,
Fred and George.
yeah. Interesting. Also, shout out to Scholastic, right?
Yeah.
They're still going strong. Our kids still bring home the Scholastic
Do they?
order forms. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the
I
thing, man.
haven't seen one of those in years, but
Yep.
I mean, I haven't been in school in years.
They
either,
haven't changed at all, Matt.
So. Oh,
They're
man.
exactly how you think that they would look.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's still that flimsy
Yep.
tissue paper almost.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
a couple pages and yep.
Yeah. Wow.
Crazy. Nothing's changed except the fact that you can look at all the books on there and then immediately go into Amazon and buy them for about a quarter of the price.
Wow, that's nice. Yeah, it's that's one of those deals. Scholastic, I believe, got the big publishing deal for Harry Potter,
Mhm.
and it's just one of those things. I have to wonder how, if Disney was approached before Universal, or how that deal worked,
Right.
and how they feel about turning it down if they did. It just feels like it would have gone to Disney first, just
Mhm.
because.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyone who signed on with the Harry Potter franchise at any point made a good decision.
Definitely.
All right. Next email coming from Kim.
Hi, Kim.
I believe she's down in New Zealand.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Well, here, yeah. Hi, Matt and Josh. I'm completely lost with the time zone conversions, so I have no idea if this is going to get to you on the right time or even the right day. Josh,
No
you gave
idea.
us homework to complete in 36 hours, and we aren't even back in Hogwarts yet. I'm not even sure which part of the 36 hours I was asleep. Are you sure you're not part Slytherin?
100%.
Anyway, my thoughts to share are in two parts. My love of the books as I came to them, and my love of the books now as a parent.
Okay.
I first read these books as an adult. The first 3 were given to me just before book 4 was released. I never got caught up in the magical world like a child would experience, but I loved the writing and the characters. It's not often that you find a book, or more rarely a whole series, that you want to reread. I think they're clever. As you read through the books, the writing matures along with Harry's age. J.K. has twists and turns like no other writer. She has characters you love and love to hate. All of this mixed into a world which completely takes you deep into your own imagination, but she cleverly reminds you of the Muggle world we live in and makes you laugh at yourself. As a parent, it's been fun watching the kids read the books and a great way to engage in a topic we can share together. They have definitely had an experience different to mine. The younger one in particular is very caught up in the magic of the world and reminds me of a character you are yet to meet, Josh. My older daughter, who is 12 now, is very Hermione-ish. She has always read above her age level, hung out with the boys because she can't stand the nonsense of the girls sometimes, and always loved learning in school. We had a lot of fun with her 11th birthday. I left it too late to order a wand online. It would have had to come from your side of the world, but had managed to get a Gryffindor shirt locally. Her dad made her a wand from a stick, literally, but presented it in a box with a description like Ollivander would produce. He made his own parchment aging paper in the oven and wax seal from candle wax and a potato, and created a Hogwarts letter and book list.
Huh.
Her younger sister dressed up as a witch and delivered it to her. Even though the wand wasn't real, she was so excited and happy. She later saved up and bought her own Hermione wand, but still has her first wand and her letter.
That's cool.
Harry Potter is so much more than the adventure of one boy. These books are full of values of love, loyalty, family, and friendship, and full of strong female characters. What's not to like? Fantastic Beasts gives us another series to explore together, which is great. Heading into their teenage years with some common interest is going to be good for us all. Lastly, I thought I'd share how I found your podcast. I heard a host of a Game of Thrones podcast talk about how she was going to do a Harry Potter reread and thought it would be fun to listen to. My completely incompetent tech skills led me to your podcast instead, and I never bothered to find hers. I'm so pleased I found yours. Thank you guys for giving me yet another way to experience these books. You have forced me to slow down my reading and appreciate things that I never considered before. Finally, a question for Matt. What would be the biggest thing as a reader now you love about the books that you may not have appreciated 20 years ago?
Good question, Matt.
So, I think the biggest thing that happens now is kind of what you're experiencing, Josh, now. Is you're able to make a lot more of the connections. Like me, right now, as I'm rereading them, like, I know how things end and how they should line up. And so I know what to look for specifically.
Okay.
Which is different from you. But I just love how there are so many connections. Not only the connections, but the wordplay J.K. uses from time to time. Specifically, well, I can't get too specific, but
yes, you can be as specific as you need to, Matt.
I was just talking about this in our Patreon hangout tonight. There's a character that's coming up whose name is a play on words.
Okay.
That the first, like, 2 or 3 times I read through the books, I didn't even realize was a play on words
Okay.
until I got older and I read it and like, ha, that is super clever. So it's one of those things that you as an older reader now might be able to catch on to your first time through.
Well, I'm going to be looking for it now, Matt.
But it's one of those things that makes me appreciate JK more and more, I guess.
Sure.
Reading him now than back when I first did.
Right. I appreciate that. Also, I want to point out that it's very possible that we pulled some shenanigans with a Game of Thrones podcast and had them secretly name drop us. Because pretty sure we're the only Harry Potter podcast out there other than Witch Weekly, which is phenomenal. Like we pulled the old double swerve on people, Matt.
Sure.
We infiltrated Game of Thrones podcasts in order to get listeners over to this one.
It sounds like something we might do. Or Fred and George might help us with.
That's true.
But I'm actually curious about making a wax seal from candle wax and a potato.
Yeah, that's cool. Does she have pictures?
I don't have pictures here, but
okay.
If she does, I would love to see pictures. I would love description. I'm intrigued. Making your own parchment paper and wax seal and all that. That's very intriguing.
Yep. If there's pictures, I want to see them.
It was a birthday party. There's a good chance there might be pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Kim, even if you don't want us to share them publicly, if you're okay, just for me to show them to Josh or something like that, that would be great as well.
Definitely.
Just let me know if we can share them publicly or not.
Because I have a potato or two, Matt. I could get on this.
Give it a shot.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
All right. Next email. Earlier than you might expect. From one and only Atari Alex.
Hello, Alex.
Says, Dear Josh and Matt, what does Harry Potter mean to me? Well, there are probably 100 different ways to answer that, so I'll try to be succinct, though we all know that can be difficult for me.
No.
On the most surface level, it's certainly about entertainment. The books, games, theme parks, and some of the movies have brought me countless hours of enjoyment that I will always cherish and will continue to build my love of the franchise as I get older. Going slightly deeper than that, the books were my first real introduction to fantasy and opened my eyes to a world I could never have conceived of before. Prior to reading The Philosopher's Stone, I was already an avid reader, but almost as soon as I opened that book, I was sucked into Harry Potter, sucked in like Harry into a pensieve. I devoured the first book and quickly moved on to the following books in the series that had been released to that point. Then, because the anticipation of waiting for Order of the Phoenix was so high, I probably reread the first 4 books 2 or 3 more times while I waited.
Wow.
Skipping forward 16 years or so, I still get that childlike sense of wonder from reading the books because they appeal to all ages. I can also appreciate them more as an adult because I notice the subtleties of J.K. Rowling's writing and pick up on the small details and clues she leaves throughout the books, which are endlessly fascinating. Finally, on a grander scale, I love the sense of community. Much in the same way that my love of topics such as Star Wars, or Pokemon, or Funko, or Amiibo have brought me together with certain groups of people, my lasting love of Harry Potter brought me to you guys. Our common passion for this one fictional universe, full of so many fantastic characters and creatures, bonds us in a way that is difficult to describe. But I know that no matter where I go, I can always find someone who loves the Harry Potter franchise, which gives us an instant connection. I know this sounds cheesy, but it's really is true. And that's part of the magic of the wizarding world. So yeah, that's more or less what Harry Potter means to me. 20 years have come and gone, but I know that'll be important to me for a long time to come.
Let's hope so, Alex.
Yeah?
You have lots of emails to write.
Yeah, but I mean that's definitely one thing I think I can agree with, is that I don't see my love for Harry Potter, the franchise, the community, or anything that fading at any time.
Right. You're not going to wake up one morning and be like, you know what, man, I just don't like Harry Potter anymore.
No, yeah, no, it's going to be with me as long as I can, and I'm gonna, as I'm doing with this podcast, sharing it with as many people as possible.
Right.
Whether it be you directly or the community at large. And I mean, we know we've got some kids listening, or the parents started listening and the kids got hooked to it too. Like, there's all sorts of connections we're making through this podcast, and I love it.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. I cherish each and every one of them.
Yep. Let's see. Next email is from Joe.
Can I just... Hi, Joe. But can I also say it's really throwing me off that Mel and Alex are not at the end of this segment?
I know.
Like, you should have just moved into the back just to make it feel like home again. Too late now. I mean... Yeah,
I would, but at the same time, in recent weeks, they've been getting better about their emails.
I know, but just...
And I don't think it's going to be as regular as it has been unless I move them.
Okay. I'm just saying, we don't want them to get egos and start getting cocky about things. And
all right.
Hi, Joe.
What does Harry Potter mean to me? I feel like I'm writing an elementary school essay. To me, Harry Potter is an escape from reality. It's something that reminds me of my childhood, despite never having this in my childhood. It's like when you're older and you come across something from your childhood, or something new is released that was originally from your childhood, like what they're doing now with the Nintendo systems. Your brain gets flooded with all these fun memories of time spent doing or playing that, and it reminds me of a time when life was simpler and there were no worries of adult things. It allows me to escape into this fantasy world and sparks creativity within me, because the world that JK made is so creative in and of itself. I've always been drawn to a great good versus evil story as well, and these books are so well written. Whenever I need a little me time, or when life becomes a struggle, diving into one of these books or putting on one of the movies and getting lost in the story is something that really makes me happy.
I could totally see that. Like, I've honestly thought about, like, how excited I am to, like, sit down and, like, watch the movies again. Like, we talked about this on the show before, but...
Yep.
Like, I really think about it way too often. I'm just like, I'm just going to start watching the movies again.
Yeah, and like he mentioned here, which now that I think about it, you're in the same boat. Like, you can still get that childlike sense of wonder, even if you never read them as a child.
Right, totally. Yeah.
Like, it just sucks you in that much.
Mm-hmm.
As Alex said, like, yeah. you just get sucked into the world and you feel at home.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Val's talked about that, when she was on the podcast talking about the movie with us. Like, every time that she watches the movies, that's what happens to her. Like, she always associates Christmas time with Harry Potter.
Sure.
And I thought that was the craziest thing in the world when I met her and she was telling me that. I'm like, that doesn't... Is this story about Christmas? No? Okay, so why do... but it's that sense of wonder and amazement and childlike, astonishment about things. And, yeah, it's totally real experience.
Yeah, definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
Next email from Taryn.
Hi, Taryn.
Says, hey guys, this is a fantastic idea for a Butterbeer Banter episode, and I'm so excited to hear what everyone has to say about it. For me, it started right before Prisoner of Azkaban came out. I was a little older than Harry, 14 I believe, but I was instantly in love. The characters, the story, the writing, all of it amazed me. I devoured the first 2 books and subsequently bought the other ones the instant I could get my hands on them. The last book came out when I was 22, and I was just as excited as about that one as I was at the beginning. My obsession lasted for a while after that, then it kind of settled down a little bit. After some time had passed, it started right back up again, with a vengeance. I went through a pretty terrible divorce 6 years ago, and something about that time triggered a need to escape. Thankfully, the escape I chose was books. I was raising 3 very young children on my own, working whatever job I could find, but still struggling to make ends meet. I was exhausted and overwhelmed almost constantly, and I needed a break. That break came in the form of reading, namely, books about our buddy Harry. Even now, I'm in tears as I type this, remembering all the times I would collapse after a particularly long day, and either open the pages or push play on the DVD player and just dive into the world to get away for a little bit. Thankfully, things have settled down since then. My kids are older and my life is more stable, but there's still a lot of chaos and exhaustion. I'm 32 years old now, and Harry remains my go-to. Not only do the books and movies have a calming effect because of their familiarity, but I see things as an adult and as a mother that I didn't see before. The beauty of this series is that it's not just for kids. There are so many layers, and each time you read and watch, another layer is peeled back. My to-read list is ridiculously long, but I always come back to Harry, and the chances are very good that I always will. Add to all of that the most amazing fandom ever, and it's like this crazy, wonderful family that we all get to be a part of. So thanks for bringing this family a little closer together, guys. You're doing a great job. I'd add a heart, but that might be weird. Just know that there's a lot of love for both of you here in the Potterverse.
Not weird at all. Also, I totally agree with her. This was an awesome idea of mine. I stopped listening after that.
Win column for
yeah.
Josh.
She said this was an awesome idea. I was like, yep, it absolutely is a great idea I had. And the rest I just kind of tuned out. No, obviously I didn't do that. No, thank you for sharing that story. That was powerful as well. But yeah, it's a magical thing, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, once again, I think the word of the night has definitely been escape.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I almost hesitate to use that word escape.
Sure.
Because it can almost have like a negative connotation to it.
No,
but
not really. I mean, yeah, it can. Yes. I see what you're saying.
You know where I'm coming from.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
I mean, people trying to avoid reality, I guess. But
yeah,
I totally understand because I in a sense can use it in the same way.
Sure.
So
just check out reality for a bit.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, like when I was talking about Hogwarts, is like every book, it's that buildup of anticipation to get to that familiar place again. Like Harry is trying to escape. Like every book, he's trying to escape and get back to Hogwarts. Like he's trying to do the same thing that everybody else is with reading the books, and that's kind of escape, whatever issues or troubles or worries or concerns that he has going on, and like escape to that place where he knows he's going to be happy.
Yep.
Like Harry going to Hogwarts is the perfect metaphor of every single person that reads Harry Potter for reasons of escape.
Yes. You make a very good point.
Thanks, Matt.
Next email then comes from Joanne.
Hi, Joanne. Is that a new name?
I believe it is.
All right.
says, "Hi, Matt and Josh. I'm excited to finally have an email to get to you and participate in something.
Took you long enough, Joanne.
I'm so far behind where you are in the books, and I feel that nothing I say is relevant, and the giveaways have always ended. Anyway, I love your podcast. I'm enjoying reading along, even if I never catch up with you. Enough rambling, and on to the reason for this email."
Hold on, stop right there, Matt.
Yes.
In like a year, you're going to get the craziest emails from Joanne. She's going to be like, look at this magical creature I drew. You're like, what? This doesn't even make sense. What's going on here? It's going to be great. Can't wait.
Yes. I'll be looking forward to it. What Harry Potter means to me. For many, Harry Potter was their childhood. I missed out on that part of the magic myself. I was about 19 or 20 when I first read Harry Potter. Well, I personally read it through the eyes of a young adult rather than with the innocent wonder of a child. I had a uniquely special view. The summer I started on my Harry Potter journey, I worked at a summer camp. All of the kids were crazy for Harry Potter, and I had to see what the fuss was about. I saw firsthand the true magic of Harry Potter. I watched a girl cry with excitement and wonder as she opened a Harry Potter care package for her 11th birthday with a Hogwarts letter and her very own Hedwig. The joy and excitement it brought her was magic in itself. I saw how it gave children the courage to try things that they may not have attempted before because Harry would have done it. It got them. It gave them a joy in reading, a belief in themselves, and imagination. To me, Harry Potter also means friendship. Beyond the obvious friendship theme of the story, it has also built many friendships in real life. I have found common ground with many people that I may not have bonded with otherwise during long, deep Harry Potter chats. The Harry Potter community is large, friendly, and welcoming, and that is something unique and special. To me, Harry Potter is love, friendship, and magic in many forms.
True that. Man, I can't wait to start like just randomly talking to people about Harry Potter. Like, people know that I do the show, you know?
Yep.
People that listen to the show know what it's about, but I can't just randomly bring up Harry Potter with like people I already know without like explaining the whole thing and telling them the exact point in the book that I'm at, because the moment a conversation starts up and they're not sensitive to spoilers, you know? So I am still very reserved with talking about Harry Potter openly and publicly, even to people I know, just because of like how much has to go into it before I even get to the point of like telling them anything else. Unless
you know that they are also an avid listener of the podcast.
Right.
Like,
even if I tell them where I'm at, am I going to expect these people to remember like what happens at the end of chapter 5 in book 5, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, so that they don't accidentally talk about something that happens in chapter 6 and like
and they can't even like ask you. It's like, have you gotten to this part yet, or have you met this person? Like that could.
I mean, you have a hard enough time doing it, and you plan out the book, the chapters ahead of time. You're like, I don't even know which chapter we've read or what happens. So I look forward to having those experiences several years down the road when I'm actually able to have those experiences.
Yeah, that'll definitely be a good thing for you.
So far away, Matt.
We'll get you. We'll get you there. Make it worth your while.
All my friends are going to be dead by then. It's going to be so old.
I sure hope not.
Be an old...
Get to find some new friends.
Yeah,
some younger friends.
Yeah. Old man Brown sitting here finally finishing Harry Potter. Back in my day.
Back in my day, Harry Potter was only 20 years old.
We're going to have a 20-year anniversary celebrating our 20-year anniversary of Harry Potter.
I sure hope so.
We'll still almost be done with the series.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next email from Bobby.
Hi, Bobby.
It says, hi, guys. I hope this guy gets you in time. You asked about Harry in our lives, so I'll share my bit. For me, the books and movies are all about friendship, love, and acceptance. My kids and I, when they were little, would play Harry Potter together and talk about things that happened in the movies and what we would do. They've grown out of it, sadly, but I found a new group to talk Harry Potter with. There's a website called Ravelry that's basically a social media site for people who make things with yarn.
Oh.
I'm actually familiar with that site because my sister hangs out there a lot, I believe.
I was going to guess Becca.
She's familiar with it, but she doesn't knit quite as much as my sister does.
Okay.
Says, I'm a member of a group called the Harry Potter Knit and Crochet House Cup. And it's exactly what you think. We're divided into houses with 3-month terms and have classes based on the subjects at Hogwarts with prompts to make things. I've been a member for 9 years now.
Wow.
And have made the best friends I could ask for. They are supportive and encouraging and literally saved my life when a few years ago I got so depressed that I wanted to give up. Now I look forward to being a grandma and introducing babies to my favorite magical world, snuggled up under a blanket of magical designs and wearing our own Weasley sweaters. Of course, listening to the podcast discuss the books adds even more depth to my love. Thank you for your show and have a wonderful weekend.
No, thank you. Also, has social media really been around for 9 years now?
Oh, yeah. I think Twitter is 10 plus years old.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, the show's making me feel so old, Matt.
Facebook would have been, yeah, I think Twitter was 2006. I think Facebook was 2005, maybe 2004.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was my freshman year of college. So that was the 04-05 year.
Yeah. Wow. Man, oh man.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's been around for a long time.
Boy, maybe this was a bad idea. I'm gonna take that pat on the back after this. Ugh. Getting muscle cramps and muscles I didn't even know I had tonight, Matt. Bones are achy.
Well, I have good news for you.
Yeah.
We only have one email left.
Is it going to make me feel really old?
Probably not.
Okay. I'll survive.
So, this email actually came in earlier.
Okay.
But it's a little bit different. It's from our friend Brent.
What's Brent up to?
Says, hey guys, had to send this to you in a bit of an unconventional manner, but I'll explain. Just listen to the link below.
Oh. Audio format, huh?
Yes.
All right.
So, I think we're going to make this work through a little magic of the internet.
Basically, Matt's going to make me work a lot harder than he normally would, is what he's saying.
Yep.
Okay.
But we're going to go ahead and play Brent's message.
Okay.
And, well, you can react to it afterwards.
All right, let's do it.
Go for it.
Well, hey guys, it is your friend Brent. Unfortunately, I am driving today, so I cannot stop to actually email in my thoughts, but I know you guys put out an alert saying, hey, we need some help. We got the show we're going to record tonight, this Butterbeer Banter, so I figured this might be better than nothing. You asked the question, what makes Harry Potter so special to you? And for me, it's really a couple of things. One is a little bit of how I sort of got into Harry Potter in the first place. At the time when the first movie came out, I was a reading teacher. I was a remedial reading teacher in a local elementary school, and several of my students had started to like these Harry Potter books. books. Now, the first 3 were the only ones that were out at the time, and it had started making a little bit of noise. And the 4th one released, and then the first movie was out. And I was going to a kind of a private Christian school that was like real strict on its rules, and people were freaking out about this magic and this witchcraft and things like that. And I remember saying to one of my roommates, it's like, hey, I hear things about this. Let's go check it out for ourselves and see what this is really all about. And we wound up going to see the first movie over Thanksgiving break, and we kind of came out of it just going, it's a great story. It's a good story. There's nothing more fantastical about this than talking to kids about Santa Claus, or than talking about Narnia and C.S. Lewis and things like that. So, it really opened the door for me to be able to go into it. But as I started going through it, honestly, Harry Potter is just great fiction. It's a well-written story, and it to me it checks all the boxes of an epic story. And in particular, in the ways of some of the greats that have gone before it, there's the story that we're listening to right now, the journey of Harry Potter right now. But there's also the backstory that we're uncovering a little bit at a time as we go through. And in this particular case, it's the story of what happened with Voldemort the first time, and what happened with Harry's parents, and what is this Order of the Phoenix, and how that happened, and what's Dumbledore's role in all of this, and how did Voldemort come to power. And that's all history, and we're uncovering that story along the same time that we're uncovering the story of Harry today, and how the two impact each other. And so to me, that puts Harry Potter right there in the same wheelhouse, in the same category as I mentioned, the Narnia stories from C.S. Lewis, or even the Middle-earth stories from J.R.R. Tolkien, or maybe even some of the more contemporary stuff like the Westeros stuff and the Game of Thrones things from George R. R. Martin. It's just good fiction. There's huge scope to it. It's well thought out. J.K. had it planned out beat for beat before she started writing. She spent so long prepping the story, and you can really sense that, and you can really feel that. She's built an entire world that you actually could believe is out there, and it's just so believable. And then finally, really at the end, and I won't give too much of this away, or really any of this away, but at the end of the day, J.K. is actually telling us a story. She's telling us a moral. She's relaying, what's the word? She's relaying... Well, morals. She's got a message. That's it. She's got a message that she's actually trying to deliver to the young people and to people in general. As you get to the end, and Josh, maybe we'll talk about this as you come up on the end of the series, of what is actually J.K. trying to say. There is a thread. There is a lesson she is saying that is woven through each and every single one of these stories, beginning with the very first one and kind of the end, which might have seemed a little weird. But it makes sense when you look at it in the larger context of what J.K. is really trying to tell us. So, that's really it. And outside of that, it's just a fun read. It's just a fun read. Not only do you get the sense that J.K. really knows what she's doing, as a comedian, I know that when I get on stage, if audiences know that I'm in control, they'll generally go with me everywhere that I want them to go. And some of it may be real crazy, zany, off-the-wall type places, but they'll go with me. And that's what I feel like when you're in the hands of JK. She knows where she's going, she knows where she's in control, and I'm ready to go with her wherever she wants to go. So, Harry Potter's just, it's good stuff. And, it's a lot of fun to get into. So that is why Harry Potter means a lot to me. I love your guys' show. Love getting to kind of be a part of the community of Tales from Godric's Hollow. And, can't wait to hear this Butterbeer episode.
All right. Well, thank you, Brent. Matt, you're lucky you didn't have to read that whole thing.
Yeah, that would have been quite the read.
He recorded it for your sake. Definitely. He was looking out for
Yes.
you on that one.
But yeah, I'm kind of glad. I mean, just for a couple of reasons that I saved that one for last. I mean, I initially did just because the format was different.
Sure.
But he makes a lot of good points.
Mm-hmm.
I love his comparison that the world is just as fantastic as, say, like Santa or Narnia.
Yeah.
Like Narnia, there's all kinds of magic going on there, and there's a witch in that book.
Sure.
I mean, in that series. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. And like you mentioned, C.S. Lewis, he was Christian. Like, it's not a big deal. You're writing about a fantasy world.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just the fact that you can, like, I kind of want to go back in the day to when Narnia was new or when Lord of the Rings was new, and see, did it have the same impact that Harry Potter is having right now?
Tough to say. Probably not. I mean, close, right?
Well, like, I mean, obviously, technology plays a part in that.
Sure.
Where the communities can come together a lot easier.
Yeah.
Than they could back in the day.
Yeah, that definitely helps.
But yeah, like if Lord of the Rings was written today,
mm-hmm.
if that was the first anybody ever heard of it, would it have that huge following that Harry Potter does right now?
I don't know.
Like, I can't say for sure, but I like to think that, you know, it feels weird to put Harry Potter in the same realm as books like Narnia and Lord of the Rings, but at the same time, the more I think about it, it's like, yeah, it really could be right up there.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not 100%, but Narnia, was that originally kind of marketed as kids' book too?
I feel like it.
I think that was kind of the idea. Like, I mean, have you read that series?
Definitely haven't read the whole series.
Okay.
Definitely.
But you're familiar with the basic premise?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, like, the books start out with
the first one is the Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Definitely read that one.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, it starts out with their grandfather reading them the books, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
It almost reminds me of like The Princess Bride or something too, where it's you know, grandfather reading this book about this story, and that's
Sure.
what we're hearing.
Yeah.
Which makes me kind of think that it's almost geared towards kids a little more.
Yeah. I pulled up the Wikipedia page on it, and then second sentence is, it is considered a classic of children's literature.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I guess even more so that is a good comparison.
Yeah.
Like,
I would say that's closer than Lord of the Rings.
Yes. Exactly. Lord of the Rings, I would not consider a kid series by any means.
No.
But Narnia definitely could be the past generation's Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, if they had social media back then.
Yeah.
In the 50s.
I think it could have been. Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah. And the other big note I that he made that kind of wraps this all up is being in control. Like when he mentioned, like, as a comedian, if he is in control, he can take the audience wherever he wants.
Sure.
Doesn't matter how crazy or out of this world it is, how fantastical. And J.K. does that perfectly.
Yeah.
Like he said, it all started that she had this planned out.
Right.
She was in control. She knew where she wanted to go. She knew where she was going to take us, and we're following.
Well, just look how many times I've been duped, week in and week out.
Yes.
She has me eating on the palm of her hands.
Yep.
She's great at it.
Very good.
Also, I'd like to point out, like, I say the name of our podcast every week, Tales from Godric's Hollow. I say it. It's not a problem for me to say it. It's just it is what it is. To hear other people say it, it instantly reminds me that I still have no idea why our name of the podcast is Tales from Godric's Hollow, Matt.
I know. We've had a Godric's Hollow mention. We had it right away in the first book.
Yeah, but that meant nothing.
I know.
I'm just saying, 52 episodes in, Matt, and I just now occurred to me that I still don't know the name of our own podcast.
But I think everyone that's listening will agree it's a good name. I hope they agree.
I trusted you from day one with it.
Yep.
I just, when I say it, I never think about it. I just think of it as that is our show.
It's just a name.
Yeah.
Just another name.
But then I hear other people say it, it's like, oh wow. I don't even know what he's talking about. Oh, I'm crazy. I'm losing it, Matt. Yeah. Question.
Yes.
That was the last email, right?
It was.
You've kind of sprinkled it in throughout the entire evening here.
Yep.
But I want to hear from you. What does Harry Potter mean to you 20 years later? Like sum it up, you know, like I said, you've kind of been dropping here and there about what it means and how important it is, but like, let's get real here.
So I will start off by saying I did not prep anything. I knew this was going to be coming. I knew when we were recording. I knew you were going to ask me this.
Sure.
But
why was it important for you? And it's not just because so I can understand references. Why was it important for you to bring me into this world as hard and as heavy as you did? That was more than just so I could understand some references and some emails.
Yeah. Well, like I said before, I hesitate to use the word escape, but it's honestly probably the best word to use. Well, I never really thought about it that way when I was doing it. I guess I did use it often as an escape. Mm-hmm. It was never like a specific situation that drove me to the books, but the feeling that I got from the books or the movies did allow me to escape from reality for a time.
Sure.
I mean, not forever, obviously. I'm not trying to do that. But there's something about the world that just gives me so much joy. And I can't just have so much trouble putting into words. But I think you've already begun to experience a little bit. Like you said, just the feeling that you get every time we get back to Hogwarts. Like I will admit I'm with you when you're reading these books, and you just can't wait to get out of the Dursleys' house. You just can't wait to get past the Quidditch World Cup and all these other little bits of fluff or whatever they might be, and get back to Hogwarts, because that's where it feels like the story begins. That's where it feels like the magic returns. That is what this story at its core should be about. That's where it should take place. Mm-hmm. And every time we're able to go back to Hogwarts, that's when like I said, that's when the magic happens.
Yeah.
And really, there's no better way to explain that, I don't think. And as cliche as that might sound, that's where the magic happens. In this world, it literally does.
Right.
In our world, I mean, it's not magic in the same sense, but figuratively, yeah, that's where the magic happens.
Mm-hmm.
And as so many people have mentioned, the community that has formed around Harry Potter and the world and the series, it's just so strong and so positive that the more people we can bring into it, like, I don't think anyone I've ever introduced Harry Potter to has ever read through the entire series and said, it's not for me.
Matt, I was going to be that one for you.
Yeah. If anyone was going to be that one, it would be you. But bringing as many people into this world because of how strong and how positive it is, it doesn't get better than that. Only good things can come from it.
Sure. Well, that settles it.
There you go.
In 20 years, I'll have something as impassioned and powerful to say about this as well.
I believe it.
Maybe. I don't know. We have another Hufflepuff death. I might be thinking something different, Matt. Can't handle it. Too vulnerable at this point. Man, this was a great idea of mine.
It was.
I'm sorry. I need to be more humble. This was a great idea of us. No, I really liked this episode. I think this was important that we did this. Like I said, over 50 episodes we've done. We get little tidbits here and there from the people that write in on a weekly basis, but we never just get to like the nitty gritty of things. And I think the 20th anniversary was a good time as ever to get into that.
And as we saw a few times tonight, it was a great opportunity for some people who haven't caught up quite yet to be able to join in with us.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you demanded people. You're like, look, I don't care what your podcast schedule your podcast listening schedule is like. Fast forward to this point right now so you could help us out. And it worked, Matt. Whatever you did, it worked.
Yes. So a huge thank you to all of you out there, whether you wrote in or not. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Mm-hmm. It means everything.
Absolutely. It really does. And I have fun. I have fun with you guys.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure you have fun with me, too, in ways that I'll never understand because no one will ever tell me what goes on behind my back. It's probably true, right, Matt?
You'll never know.
This has been a fun episode of Butterbeer Banter. Again, if you're listening to this early on the Patreon feed, thank you so much for supporting us in whichever way you are doing so. If you are hearing this a little bit later, still, thank you for listening, regardless. And this has been fun. If you didn't get an email in and you still have emails to send in regarding this, like Matt and I were talking about off air, like, if we get a flood of emails because people listen to the last episode a little bit later and we get way more responses, there's a good chance we're going to get part 2 of this. So
yeah, I'm in. Just
throwing that out there. I want to hear all your stories. All 8 million of you listening out there. So, we'll do a Butterbeer Banter a night if we have to. Matt will be so sick and tired of reading emails by the time we're done. It'd be good for him, though.
Yeah. I'll need a magical remedy to keep talking.
Or just another full glass of butterbeer.
Yes, please.
Yeah, right. Matt, where can people find you on the internet?
You can always find me personally on Twitter at As a Matter of Matt. Or if you want to send me something longer than Twitter will allow, you can always get a hold of me via email, like so many of you have been doing, whether it be for Butterbeer Banter, the regular episode, the giveaways. Got so much going on these days. Love it. But you can send all those emails to talesfromgodric's@gmail.com.
Also, I don't know why I threw it to you first.
It happens occasionally.
Too much butterbeer. Too much butterbeer, if that's the thing. You can find me personally on Twitter at The Noise. Be sure to follow the show on Twitter at TalesFromGH. You can follow us on Instagram. We're Tales from Godric's Hollow over there. Our website has everything that you need regarding us, the show, and the community, and what we got going on. With soon to have show notes.
Should be getting an update hopefully in the next week. I ran into a little snag with our designer. I was not anticipating a few issues. So it show notes were supposed to be up there this week already, but we're working on it.
That was a hard sell, Matt. We asked people to wait another day to get the episode, and we were like, look, we promise it's going to be worth it.
I had the content ready to go. It was an issue with the site that I wasn't expecting. So
well, the site will be working. It'll be fully functional as promised. We will deliver. TalesFromGodric'sHollow.com. And once again, finally, we want to thank everybody, every single person over on Patreon that supports us, supports the show, supports the community. Everything that you guys are doing over there goes directly back to you guys, the community, to make this experience, this world that we're creating within a world, better and more fun. So thank you to everybody over at Patreon. That's patreon.com/Tales from Godric's Hollow. Matt. Hope you have a good weekend, my friends.
I hope so too.
We'll be reading some chapters on Lord of the Things.
Chapters 6 and 7.
Okay, 6 and 7. That's right.
6 and 7.
That will be next episode 53.
Just as a reminder, we will be recording that on Sunday night, July 2nd. So if you're sending emails in, get those in a day early.
It's true.
The episode will still release on our new Wednesday schedule, though.
Matt, would it be asking too much for you to send me a text at some point this weekend to remind me?
I think I could do that.
So I don't sit down to record and realize, hey, I haven't read yet.
We'll work on it.
That'd be a shame. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you for sharing your stories. We hope that we did the 20th anniversary of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone some justice. You guys made this show what it was, which I think, personally, is pretty incredible. But that's only because I have great ideas, according to you guys. Thank you all for listening. Until next time, Muggle out.
Mischief managed.